like and subscribe, and you will have amazing luck for the next week. The deeper we explore inside a forest, the more likely we are to come across eerie and disturbing things. These terrifying discoveries will have you convinced to never go too deep into the woods, especially not alone. Today, we will be looking at 15 of the scariest things found in the forest. So let's jump right in, shall we? Number 15, mummified dog found in a tree. Imagine spending your last remaining hours of life trapped inside a hollow tree trunk where you attempt to claw out and fight for life. But despite your best efforts, the tree eventually consumes you. Well, this is no work of fiction and did indeed happen. Not to a person, but a coon dog. Trapped in a wooden vise, this pup took its last gasp of air in the trunk of an oak. In time, the two became one, and the corpse of the dog was mummified within the tree about 30 feet from the floor of the northeastern Alabama woods. It is believed the hound was lodged in there for at least 20+ years. If it were not for a logging crew topping the oak, no one may have ever found the long-lost pup. When the oak was taken down, the eerily well-preserved canine was probably one of the last things the team that disassembled the tree expected to find. Today, if you find yourself in the southeast corner of Georgia, at the edge of the Okefenokee Swamp, you will find a unique museum home to a dog that got the whole world. In 2002, the museum, Southern Forest World, opened up the naming right for the dog to the public. And the winning name was Stucky. If you visit Southern Forest World today, you can see a 7-foot-long chestnut log protected by glass to observe the famous Stucky in his forever resting place. Number 14, Tree Woman. This next one doesn't make a lot of sense, but it sure is eerie to look at. At first glance, we see what appears to be a woman who has merged and has become one with the tree. The woman has her head sticking out from the trunk of the tree with long flowing hair, and the bulging roots of the tree look like they could be her body and limbs. If you look at this from a realistic standpoint, there is no way a body would not decompose before a tree could grow over it and become one with it. When this video was posted online, it blew up and had so many people questioning what they were looking at. But the main question everyone was asking was, is it real? After some research, I regret to inform you that it is not real. While the tree itself is real, the head of the woman is actually a mask, more specifically, Alpha's mask from The Walking Dead, which was stuffed and attached to the side of the tree. Despite the explanation for the tree woman, she is still freaky to look at. Number 13, woodworms. Imagine seeing a log with holes, and outside the holes emerge squirming worms. Ugh! This is none other than the wood-eating larva known as the woodworm. You can think of them sort of like termites, but in the form of a worm. Are they dangerous? Well, not exactly. But they can carry parasites and leave nasty bites if you are exposed to a nasty infestation. Interesting fact for you, woodworms are actually consumed in places such as Cambodia, South Africa, the Philippines, and Papua New Guinea, where they are considered to be edible delicacies. I guess to each their own, but you could not pay me to eat one of those things. Number 12, goat climbing down a tree. It appears that gravity is a choice for these goats in Kenya, as we watch them climb straight down a steep palm tree. How is this even possible? I am shocked, as it seems from the video that the palm tree is standing up straight for the most part. I never thought I would live to see the day when I witness goats that can climb trees better than I can. The only other explanation I can think of, outside the fact that these goats can climb really well, is that maybe the camera is tilted 30 degrees or more to make the tree appear to be far steeper than it actually is. But that hardly makes sense, since the vegetation in the background is also tilted in such a way in real life. What do you guys think? How steep do you think the tree the goats are climbing on actually is? Number 11, fire inside a tree. Is that a fire inside of this tree? What is this phenomenon? This idea of a fire inside a tree burning inside out is an interesting concept triggered by different things. The two main reasons would be either a lightning bolt struck the tree, or the spark of a brush or any fire really found a way inside. Even if you understand how it starts, that still doesn't explain why sometimes the inside burns and not the trunk. Well, this is due to the moisture content of the tree held just below the bark. When something gets inside to trigger the spark, the sappy interior makes for a better conductor than wood, and from there it heats the surface of the sap to temperatures close to boiling point. Number 10. Fossilized tree. Petrified wood, also known as petrified tree, is a type of fossilized wood. The fossilized remains are a type of terrestrial vegetation. It is legally protected in the United States, where people have gone to jail for collecting petrified woods on land. It is strongly enforced, and people are not allowed to remove natural materials or fossils from a region. The value of petrified wood varies depending on its species of it, how rare said species is, the size of it, how well preserved it is, etc. Rare pieces have sold for over $10,000, while smaller pieces found are usually valued at under $50. Number 9. Tree of bats. At first, this just looks like a normal tree, right? Well, it is anything but normal. Let's zoom in, shall we? Upon closer inspection, you'll see an abundance of black, and as we get closer, yes, they are moving. And well, those are bats. Fruit bats, to be more precise. And there are probably thousands of them in this tree. Fruit bats are one of the more social species of bats, and they can gather in groups of up to 200,000 individuals. It vastly depends on the region, but where food is common and plentiful, they tend to congregate in larger groups. What's even more interesting in this is the fact that bats are nocturnal creatures. They thrive at night. During the day, they usually avoid the light, as this is when they sleep, but also to avoid being vulnerable to predators. So now, after understanding this, why are all these bats out in this tree in the middle of daylight? What is so special about this tree? Number 8. Was a dead T-Rex found? Up next, we have a video that blew up on TikTok, gathering millions of views. However, as attention-grabbing as the caption is, realistically, this makes no sense. Let's roll the clip. In the video, which is captioned, "Is that a dead T-Rex?" we see someone who appears to be in a forest filming what looks to be the carcass of a former T-Rex. The biggest issue with this is it looks like it had flesh a month ago. Or would have, if this indeed was dead, which is the biggest clue that this is, in fact, not a dead T-Rex. People speculated about what it could possibly be. Eventually, the poster fessed up and admitted that this was filmed at a theme park in Germany, Altmühltal Museum. And here they created this T-Rex sculpture to show how a dead T-Rex would slowly become decomposed, buried, and fossilized. Number 7. Forest of butterflies. If you're unfamiliar with the monarch butterflies and how they migrate, basically, depending on where they originally spent the spring and summer months, they migrate to different warmer locations come winter. One of these migration locations is Mexico, which has beautiful Oyamel fir trees that are highly protected. The reason for this is that they home a vast amount of monarch butterflies starting in September and October, and this carries out through the winter months. During this time of year, the Oyamel fir trees are flooded with these butterflies, and from a distance, these trees look like they are completely covered in butterflies. It may be jaw-dropping to see at first, but also is quite beautiful. Did you know it's actually illegal to destroy and log these trees because the monarchs heavily depend on them during their time in Mexico? Number 6. Water gushes from 100-year-old tree. First of all, yes, this is real. If you ever find yourself in Montenegro, be sure to visit the village of Dinosha. A few days each year in a meadow there, water can be witnessed gushing from the trunk of a 100-year-old mulberry tree. The natural phenomenon in Dinosha is a spectacular sight for those who are lucky enough to see it. So how and why does this happen? According to locals in the area, there is a spring and it travels to the treetop through the tree hollows, and that is how this beautiful scene occurs. When this happens, unfortunately, it only goes on and lasts a couple days, so it's a very rare and special sighting. Number 5. Ram Skull Tree. Up next is another strange tree over the age of 100 years old, but this one is a little different. This one has a ram skull that is naturally embedded in the tree trunk of the aging tree. So what's going on here? At the center of this 100-year-old tree are the horns of a ram. This natural oddity was first discovered back in 1930 by zoologist Eugenia Shorrock. Obviously, the tree didn't just grow horns. Somewhere in the tree's past, there was a ram that got its horns caught in the tree and unfortunately passed away there, as it was unable to ever escape free. Over time, the wood slowly grew around its skull, and the ram and the tree grew to be one. Number 4. Unrecognizable paw found in a Canadian forest. Up next, we have a discovery that has left thousands of people on the internet stumped and intrigued. By Alexis Creek in Chilcotin, British Columbia, a group of working tree planters found a strange humanoid-like foot that people want to know, well, what is it? What kind of creature could this belong to? This odd discovery was found on Thursday, May 11, 2023, at a camp near the creek mentioned, and a handful of media documenting this was posted to the internet by Joanna Finch, who called upon friends who know archaeology, anthropology, paleontology, or weird animal identification to help figure out the nature and origins of this crazy humanoid foot, which, she joked, seems to resemble something that could belong to a baby Sasquatch. While it's fun to entertain the idea that maybe we finally have proof that Bigfoot exists, this didn't last long. The well-known Sasquatch researcher by the name of Jeff Meldrum, a professor of anthropology and anatomy at Idaho State University, debunked this idea after examining the media and came to the conclusion that the appendage is a left hind foot of a bear, and unfortunately not that of a baby Sasquatch. Number 3. Eerie caterpillar-infested tree. When local Rich Sutcliffe saw this insane tree covered in webbing and caterpillars, he said it was one of the strangest things he had ever seen in the 45 years of living in Kilnsey, North Yorkshire. Sutcliffe first spotted the tree on the banks of the River Wharfe near the town of Kilnsey. Images were posted to Twitter where Sutcliffe wrote, "I've seen some mysterious sights at work, but this took me by surprise today." In the images, it's really hard to see, but there are caterpillars covering every branch as well as the trunk of the tree. Apparently, this phenomenon happens when small moth caterpillars form webbing over a tree to protect themselves from birds and wasps, where they feed and then prepare to transform into beautiful moths. Number 2. Huge beehive. This is one of those things that if there was no video to prove it, many people would not believe it. In this video, we have Yappy Beeman, a professional bee remover that performs live bee removal rescues of bees throughout the state of Alabama. From there, he relocates them to apiaries away from residential areas or wherever they inconveniently made their home so that they can thrive somewhere and be undisturbed. This particular hive was reported to him after some rough tornadoes passed through the area in late May of 2021. This huge hive got settled on a branch of a cedar tree. Before disturbing the hive, the keeper was able to locate the 2 queens, so when we see him knock down the hive, the bees immediately flock to their queens and enter the box the keeper will relocate them in. Number 1. Remains found in an abandoned church in a forest. Up next, we have something that truly will send shivers down your spine. Here we have a vlogger who was exploring a forest in the United Kingdom when he discovered an old abandoned church. Now, most people would be utterly terrified at the sight or even thought of this, and would not even contemplate entering. But that is exactly what this person did. Inside it just appeared to be an emptied out church that was slowly deteriorating. But then, something utterly disturbing was found. In one of the rooms in the church, there were these long rectangular brick structures sealed at the top with wooden panels. Well, they were sealed up at one point. They had since been tampered with to reveal what they hid. And what was stored away will make your stomach drop. When the person filming walked over to one of the panels that had been pried open, there was a clear view of a casket and bones. These brick structures were tombs that grave robbers had broken into at some point, seeking jewelry, gold, and whatnot. This is truly disturbing, disgusting, and disrespectful to say the least. Hopefully this was reported to the authorities, and these people could be rehomed to a final resting place where they will not be violated any more than they already have been. If you enjoyed today's video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Have you come across any scary things in forests that didn't make this list? Share them in the comments, and be sure to check out these videos on the screen. Thanks for watching!